This episode of the Creep Street Podcast is brought to you by Martini Coffee Roasters. You know, people always look at me weird when I say I start off every morning with a big old martini. But then I set them straight, and I tell them I'm talking about Martini Coffee Roasters coffee. A delicious coffee made by the Martini family. They roast their coffee using a traditional method of sight and sound to roast those little babies to perfection. And they also sell green coffee beans for those home roasters out there. And right now, fans of the Creep Street Podcast can get 20% off their entire order by using the code CREEPSTREET at martinicoffee.com. Once again, for 20% off your order, use the code CREEPSTREET at martinicoffee.com. Martini Coffee Roasters, the perfect coffee to keep you creeps caffeinated.
You've taken a wrong turn down Creep Street.
Citizens of the Milky Way, my name is Dylan Hackworth.
I'm Maureen Bogey.
And this is the Creep Street Podcast. Welcome one and all. Of course, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Creep Street Podcast, Twitter at Creep Street Pod. We also have a TikTok. On our Facebook, we have a little forum where daily we like to interact with our listeners, post funny stories or scary stories or memes or whatnot. It's called Citizens of the Milky Way, a Creep Street fan page. You can find that on Facebook. Just click the Let Me In button and one of us will let you in.
That's right.
And of course, if once a week is just not enough,
if it's not scratching that itch.
And it's not. It's right in that place in your back where you can't reach.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the perfect tool to scratch that itch. It's called patreon.com. Just head over to patreon.com/creepstreetpodcast for all sorts of goodies. Now, Maureen, whoa, batter. Okay. So next week, we're kicking off October.
I know. I'm so excited. I can't believe it that it's finally here. Spooky season is here. It is upon us. It is next week.
And there's a crisp in the air here in Chicago, and I like it.
I love it. I want some more of it.
You know, I was recently just down in the town of Clarksburg, West Virginia, and we were shown some very cool UFO and paranormal history there. Tons of fun. I was there with the loathsome Johnny Love. Well, I was there with the Second City, but, you know, loathsome Johnny Love is our music director, and had a really great time down there. Looking forward to talking a little bit about that on the Patreon. Now, listen, Maureen, I'm excited about today.
Okay. Why?
Because this is definitely something diff for Creep Street.
It is diff for Creep Street, but it still is Creep Street-ish.
And you know what? This will be our 150th episode.
Oh my God. I will be honest, I forgot about that.
Yeah. So it's, it's a bit of a big day here for Creep Street.
Yeah.
But what we're talking about today is kind of out of the ordinary for us, but it fits perfectly here on Creep Street.
It really does.
Maureen, what are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about a fascinating story, a tragic story, but fascinating all the same.
Yes.
Today we are talking about the strange death of Brittany Murphy. This is a weird one, folks. This one is interesting. It's a true crime case. I would still consider it to be. It's bizarre. It's just a weird situation.
And I'll be honest, it made me think of our interview with India. When India said, because you were talking about how a lot of what you read when you read about Keith Raniere and cult leaders, how it almost sounds like an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
Or a high control relationship. And India said, yeah, well, there's this notion of the cult of one.
Yeah.
I think we might have a case of that on our hands today.
We definitely do.
And it's not a cult around Brittany Murphy, like people worshiping her. It's, we'll get into it. But yeah, I think this might be an example of a cult of one.
It's so interesting that you bring that up because I was planning on bringing that up as well because I think this is the perfect example of what India was talking about a cult of one. Now, let's list off my sources for today's episode. One is a fantastic YouTube page. We've talked about her before, Stephanie Harlow.
Oh, yeah.
She did a great report on this case, and the video is called The Mysterious Story of Brittany Murphy and Simon Monjack. Then there is the HBO documentary, What Happened Brittany Murphy. It is a 2-part docu-series. Highly recommend you go ahead and check those out.
Oh, yeah. It was very fascinating. Mm-hmm. Things I just did not even know about.
Right, for sure, because this is just such a weird case. You really can't get enough. Now, for those of you who may not know, Brittany Murphy was an American actress. We'll get into a little bit more of her resume here in a little bit, but she was an American actress that really came up and was prominent in the late 90s, early 2000s, was really where she was out here popping off.
Absolutely.
And let's just dive right into it. Brittany Murphy was born on November 10th, 1977 in Atlanta, Georgia to parents Sharon Murphy and Angelo Bertolotti. Her father was not really in the picture though, so she was raised by her mother, Sharon, as a single mother. Her dad was involved in the mob and was in and out of prisons a lot growing up, and when she was 2 years old, she moved to Edison, New Jersey. She was extremely, extremely close with her mom, and it was just something that ever since from a very young age, it was just the two of them, so they got this incredibly close bond, and her mom was just always there for her, and Brittany was just always there for her mom. Brittany wanted to be an actress from a very young age, so her mom enrolled her in the Vern Fowler School of Dance and Theater when she was just 5 years old. When she was 12, her mom was driving her very often into New York City for auditions, and she was booking a lot of commercial work. But by the time she turned 14, her mom moved her and herself out to LA for Brittany to be able to pursue her dream. Right away, she got roles in multiple commercials in the shows Sister Sister, Boy Meets World, Frasier, Murphy Brown, as well as many others.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so she was doing really well right from the very start. As soon as she moved out to LA, she was booked and busy, baby.
Wow. Okay. All right. Way to go, Brittany.
Yeah, very good, Brittany. It's a harsh industry, but she was out there doing the damn thing.
Yeah.
But in 1995, she was cast as Ty in Clueless, which was an iconic movie and an iconic role.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And this was her big breakout moment. Now, Clueless is one of my favorite movies. I think it is so good. It's not just a teen rom-com.
It's based on a Jane Austen novel, isn't it?
It's based on Emma.
Okay, that's right. I knew it was one of her novels. I couldn't remember which one.
Yes, it is. It's based on Emma. It's like a kind of a modern at the time retelling of Emma.
Right.
And it wasn't long before she was cast in many other movies. She was in Girl Interrupted, Drop Dead Gorgeous, 8 Mile, Happy Feet, Just Married, Little Black Book, Uptown Girl. She was also a voice actor in King of the Hill. She was just very, very busy and doing a lot of stuff.
Wow. Yeah, very, very busy.
Yeah. Acclaimed director Penny Marshall said her timing was impeccable. She could be funny, she could be dramatic. She was a terrific actress. Her co-star, Kathy Najimy, said, Brittany was so wonderful. There was no one else like her. She dated Tom Green, Eminem, Ashton Kutcher, Fred Durst. She was engaged to 2 different men, Jeff Quatanis and Joe Malcusio, I think is how you say their names.
Okay, all right.
But as her success grew, some more issues popped up as well, as they do.
As they do. Hey, you're a young starlet in Hollywood.
She started to be very self-conscious and have a lot of body image issues that were possibly stemming from her role in Clueless, where in that movie she was kind of the ugly duckling and was compared to Alicia Silverstone and Stacey Dash. Heroin addict thin was very in the 90s.
Okay.
It was a very hard time for women to come up in Hollywood, where there was just a lot in the late 90s, early 2000s. It was especially hard for women just being ridiculed and just judged based on their body and what they looked like and how thin they were.
Right.
And this was like the time of intense, a lot of like really bad tabloids were just out here popping off. It was just a really hard time.
Right, absolutely.
It wasn't long after her time in Clueless that she was told she was cute, but she wasn't fuckable. She was told this by a Hollywood exec. Yeah, yikes.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah. She started to lose a lot of weight, wearing a lot of makeup, getting her teeth capped, dyeing her hair blonde, and there was rumors starting to circulate about her using drugs and having an eating disorder. But I believe it was in 2002, she was quoted in an interview saying that she was the same size she was in Clueless. She said, "It's just the weight changes in your face as you grow and get older." She also said, quote, "I read everything that is written about me," which is rough. I would recommend not doing that.
Absolutely, especially when you've reached a level of success.
Yes.
You know, because there's always going to be mean people out there.
Mm-hmm. It's just kind of ridiculous to think that she was the same weight in, the 2000s as she was in Clueless. But the thing is that's crazy is she was still thin when she was in Clueless.
She really was. Absolutely.
So it's just so sad that she felt the need that she needed to lose even more weight after she was in Clueless, because she was so thin, she was already beautiful, she was already gorgeous, but just because of the pressures of Hollywood, she felt like she needed to change so much about herself and lose all of this weight.
Right.
Honestly, it makes sense that people thought that she was either using drugs or had an eating disorder, because I don't know how else you would do it, to be honest.
Especially to the degree that she did.
Yes, exactly. She got typecast and was stuck kind of in the rom-com zone, but she really wanted to be more in A-list movies in the, early to mid 2000s.
Right.
And there was a time when in 2004, when she was presenting the Independent Spirit Awards, when she was acting really, really bizarre while presenting this award. People didn't really know when she was presenting the winner and when she was just listing off nominees. I mean, it was just really weird. And people thought that maybe then she was using drugs as well.
It is kind of an awkward video.
Yeah, YouTube it. It's weird.
It's weird.
Now, in 2006, she met Simon Monjack.
Enter our villain
Yes.
of this story.
Yes, big time. Her soon-to-be husband, Simon Monjack. He was a British screenwriter who had a story credit on the movie Factory Girl and was the director of 2 Days, 9 Lives. He said that movie was the best movie that has ever been, or the best received or best reviewed movie that has ever been an independent movie coming out of the UK. But apparently it was trash, actually. He just said that.
Yeah, it was apparently getting some awful, awful reviews.
Yeah. He was 8 years older than Brittany, but it still wasn't long until they were together, never separated, and they entered a very strange codependent relationship. Many people approached Brittany to warn her about Simon Monjack when they started dating, but she wouldn't hear it. Later on, there was even an intervention for Brittany and her mom, Sharon, about how slimy and rough and just a bad guy Simon was.
Oh, yeah. Like,
but it didn't work.
Everyone around her could smell a rat right away, except for her and her mother.
Yeah, which is very sad.
Yeah.
People actually called him Simon Konjac. He was served with a few lawsuits and racked up a lot of debt. When he met Brittany, his visa was about to expire. Brittany didn't know this, but he was married before, and he did not pay the $50,000 owed to his ex-wife. The director of Factory Girl, the movie he had a story credit on, said that he had absolutely nothing to do with the film, but there was a lawsuit out there saying that the script was stolen from Simon Monjack, so just to get him off their backs, he was given a stupid story credit.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Now, is Factory Girl how he met Brittany?
No, he just met Brittany through the Hollywood circle.
Okay, just through this. Okay, so they didn't actually work like directly on a project together.
Right.
Okay.
I believe that they were just like set up on a dinner through people to talk about whatever, the industry or a future project or something.
Right.
Next thing you know, they were together and they got married in 2007. He told a lot of people that he was a billionaire, that he was the largest collector of Vermeer paintings in the world, that he was previously dying from brain cancer but used this weird shark fin medicine, and that it saved his life.
Yeah, that was weird. That what a weird. It's one thing to be like, I have billions of dollars. That's not that people don't lie, because we've heard, there are stories out there of people faking illness, but like the fact is, like, I used to have brain cancer.
Yeah.
But then through a very like obscure and expensive like medicine made from the fins of sharks, I'm all fine now.
Yeah.
Like, what do you fucking mean?
Yeah, it's so weird. I think it's just to show that he's like, I'm this very interesting person who has the means to be able to use these alternative treatments and like...
Already getting Keith Raniere vibes, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh. Big time. Big time. Now, of course, the brain cancer, the collection of Vermeer paintings, him being a billionaire, all of this was a lie. This was before he married Brittany. He would bring around beautiful girls that believed the lies that he was telling too and lived off of her money until the money ran out, and then he was gone. And he would move on to the next piece of meat.
Quite literally a leech.
Yeah.
Like, incredible. Yeah, quite literally, he would feed off of others.
Absolutely. But he was super convincing. Like, so many people believed him. He was just so manipulative.
Oh my God. We'll play probably a clip of him talking later. He reminds me, we obviously love Matt Berry. He's like there's something about him that's just so like Stephen Toast.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. This is a actor and a character that we're talking about, Matt Berry and Stephen Toast, if you don't know.
Right.
But
right. Our UK listeners will probably know, and some of the folks here in the US. I know it was on Netflix for a little while and stuff. And he's also in the What We Do in the Shadows television show. Mm-hmm. There's like this, like, if Matt Berry was actually an evil piece of shit,
yes.
Not an actor, but it like there's something about the voice and the way he talks. It sounds like a Matt Berry character.
Absolutely. It's so weird and gross and bizarre. His mom and his brother said that growing up he had a charm and was able to manipulate well and had a very high IQ. Keith Raniere alert.
There we go.
Coming back up again. Now here's some very interesting tea here. He had 2 children that Brittany did not know about. One child was brought up in the UK, the other was brought up in France. We're going to talk about the story about the child that was raised in France here.
Oh boy, okay.
There was a woman named Elizabeth Ragsdale, and she was engaged to Simon Monjack and had one of his 2 children. They met in France, and they had this whirlwind romance right off the bat. One night after she said no to having sex with him, he broke down and said he had spinal cancer and needed to go get this shark cartilage treatment in Monaco. Sound familiar?
Oh boy.
And then after that, they did end up having sex. So it sounds like he said all of this just because he wanted to have sex with her.
And much like Keith Raniere, when you look at the guy, he's not a good-looking man at all.
No.
At all. Now, Matt Berry, much better looking than this guy.
Oh yeah.
Just I'm not saying he like looks exact. He looks like Matt Berry, really.
Yeah, no, not at all. Really.
But like it's more just like the kid. But no, not a good-looking guy.
No.
At all.
Then later on, he said that they had to get pregnant right then because since he was going to get this shark cartilage treatment that would make him sterile, they needed to get pregnant right away. So Elizabeth Ragsdale did get pregnant, and he said that he wanted the baby to be born on U.S. soil. So he sent her over to New York City, and she called him as soon as she made it to New York, and he hung up on her.
My God.
Yeah. She kept trying to get in touch with him, but he just completely ghosted her. Eventually, she did get in touch with Simon Monjack's mother, and she said that Simon did not have spinal cancer and that Simon's mother had given him a ton of money for this shark cartilage treatment as well, but found out that that was a lie as well, and so she was pissed about that.
Oh, God. So his own mom was like, no, he's lying.
Yeah, and then found out that he was already with someone else, already with another woman.
Wow.
Elizabeth Ragsdale thought about committing suicide, but she didn't because of her baby. So it's just like this incredibly sad, tragic story.
Unbelievable.
So going back to Brittany and Simon now. Brittany doesn't know about any of this. Some stuff has been brought up to her, but she doesn't believe anything. But she has no idea about the 2 children, about the previous, engagement or whatever. She doesn't know about any of that. So they moved into a house, Brittany, Simon, and Brittany's mother, Sharon, they moved into a house in the Hollywood Hills. And the three of them became this like weird codependent bunch.
Yeah. And we'll talk about that, but like after Brittany dies, the way that like Simon and her mother just like act.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
It's so bizarre. Yeah, it's really weird. And Sharon and Brittany just did whatever Simon said. Simon says. But really though, they did. Simon became Brittany's manager, agent, lawyer, makeup artist, everything.
Chauffeur, chef, podiatrist, exorcist.
No one was even able to contact Brittany directly. They had to contact her through Simon. Some thought that Brittany didn't even have her own phone anymore.
Right. So that's weird already. Imagine if you're, say a director or something working on a film, and your star, the only way to talk to your star is through this fucking flapjack of a human being. Like this weird Shrek-like person.
Yeah. It's so weird. It's so bizarre. It doesn't make any sense at all.
He literally looks like if you put a nice, like a Brooks Brothers suit on Shrek.
Yeah.
Is what he looks like.
They had a trainer, a personal trainer, and he said that he felt for sure that the two of them were under the influence of something, like slurring their words, just acting bizarre, and just seeming totally out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Simon too, right?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Now, a little later on, Brittany, Simon, and Sharon all thought about leaving LA to move to New York for Brittany and Simon to be able to start a family. She didn't like the home that they lived in the Hollywood Hills so much that sometimes they would just stay in a hotel for the night just to be able to avoid it. Yet other times they stayed in the house like all the time. Brittany and Simon would do these weird photo shoots in their house in the middle of the night. He would tell her that she needed to change more and more about her appearance and that she needed to get more procedures done. And apparently he really loved the anorexic skinny look and told her that she continued to be able to lose weight.
Right. He was so controlling over her look that when she would do a movie, he would do her makeup.
Yeah, which is bizarre.
Like not an actual professional makeup artist, but like he would do her makeup for the movies.
Yeah, which is insane.
And let me tell you, the end result was not good.
No, you can see it in the documentary. She just looks weird, and like the professional makeup artist that was there was interviewed, and she said that it was just completely bizarre and just out of control.
Almost like borderline clown-like at times.
Yeah.
Like her makeup. It almost looked like the cliche of like someone drunk putting on lipstick where it's just kind of smut and her hair looked like it just, he clearly like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
Yeah, I don't know why. I just don't know why. I don't understand it. They had a bunch of security cameras throughout their house, which makes sense to a degree, but it was like it was a lot, and it was strange. Like they felt like they were being watched. They were both increasingly paranoid, and they both were just worried all the time. A lot of friends said that when Simon would turn up, Brittany would turn very withdrawn and silent. It was not her usual bubbly, energetic self anymore.
Right.
Now, apparently they both practiced holistic medicine. Not practiced like they were holistic doctors, but they just used holistic medicine. And maybe that's the reason why they wouldn't really go to the doctor, which is a thing. They didn't really go to the doctor, which you'll see here in a little bit. Now, 6 weeks before Brittany's death, her little puppy Clara, Simon, and Sharon all flew down to San Juan, Puerto Rico, where Brittany was then going to film this low-budget thriller called The Caller. But it wasn't long before she was kicked off or walked off the film, depending on whose story you listen to.
Like within a couple days, right?
Yeah, I think it was after the first day of filming, I believe. It was reported that Simon was irrationally drunk on set, and Brittany tried to cover for him, and because of this, she was fired. But Simon's lawyers got involved quick, and the studio then printed a retraction saying that it was a mutual decision that they left. They stayed in Puerto Rico for 10 or 15 more days, even though they were no longer working on this film, because they already were like planning on being there kind of thing. So they just like had a little vacation down in Puerto Rico.
My goodness. Okay.
Simon and Sharon both got sick, but apparently Brittany did not get sick while down there. But it wasn't long until after they got back that Brittany then did start to get sick. She was having trouble breathing. She was very weak and lethargic. and she just wouldn't make an appointment to go to the doctor, but she eventually did make an appointment to go to the doctor, which was just a few days. Their appointment was just a few days after her death.
Wow.
On the morning of December 20th, 2009, Brittany woke up and complained about stomach pains, went into the bathroom at about 7:30 a.m., and was found 30 minutes later passed out on the floor. Sharon and Simon brought her into the shower and turned on cold water to try and revive her, but it didn't work. And when she started to throw up, Sharon called 911. She apparently said, "Mommy, help me, I can't catch my breath." In the 911 call, Sharon seems panicked and incredibly distraught at some times, but at other times, she seemed pretty calm. Brittany was brought to Cedars-Sinai Hospital, where she was pronounced dead at 10:04 a.m. at the age of 32 and laid to rest on Christmas Eve at Forest Lawn Memorial Park Cemetery in Hollywood Hills. The coroner, Ed Winter, talked with the family and said that Simon seemed to be under the influence of something and was acting weird. It was the kind of just weird feeling he got where the hair stands up on the back of your neck, and it's just bizarre. But a statement from the family read, quote, "A bright light that lit the world is forever dimmed, but it will live on in the hearts of those Brittany touched." In the house, investigators found 10 different prescription medications for Brittany Murphy, but Simon said that the only medications in the house were, quote, for her female times and cough syrup, and that was it. But apparently they found over 90 prescription medications in the bedroom under several different names.
Good God.
Yeah, not just Simon and Brittany, but other just random people's names. Now, Simon also did not want an autopsy done. This is weird. He said later on, that he couldn't bear the thought of having her beautiful body that had curves in all the right places being cut up.
Now, let's go ahead and just play just a real quick clip from an interview that he and Brittany's mother gave on Larry King Live, and Larry King asks, "Why did you not want an autopsy?" Let's hear it from the man himself.
Yeah.
We're back with Simon Monjack and Sharon Murphy. You didn't want an autopsy at first?
No, I didn't.
Are you a religious Orthodox Jew?
I was.
Orthodox Jews don't want autopsies, right?
It wasn't that. I mean, I could blame the religion, it would be the easiest thing to do. There was this woman who had just lost her daughter, who to us, it was such a shock. This pristine body that was curvy in all the right places and the skin like silk. And how could I say in front of her mother, cut her up?
I mean, it was just
what kind of
unfathomable.
insanity is that?
So what did they do?
They cut her up anyway.
Now, if that isn't the most awkward,
So weird.
creepy response I've ever heard. She had curves in all the right places. What a weird
Who says that?
skin as smooth as silk. What a weird, creepy thing to say.
It's so weird. And also it's your wife died under mysterious circumstances at the age of 32. Wouldn't you want to find out why she actually died?
Right, absolutely.
It just makes no sense at all. It's so bizarre. But Simon's wishes were overruled by the coroner, thankfully, and they still did an autopsy on Brittany. The cause of death was listed as community-acquired pneumonia with contributing factors of iron deficiency and multiple drug intoxication. Not illegal drugs in her system, we should make sure. Just the drugs that she was prescribed. There was no evidence of trauma. Circumstances said that she had diabetes and was once hospitalized for hypoglycemia. She was diagnosed with a common treatable heart condition in her teens, and that she had no evidence of drug or alcohol abuse in her system.
But God, iron deficient. So clearly she also wasn't eating.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And clearly was not getting treatment for this pneumonia.
No, not at all. Apparently she was so anemic that if she had been brought into the ER earlier before it got this bad, before a few days before or something, she would have been admitted and given several blood transfusions.
Oh my God.
Yes. Now, pieces of her lungs were put in water to see if they would float, because they're supposed to be filled with air so that they would float. But 3 out of the 4 pieces of her lungs sank in the water, which indicates a severe case of pneumonia.
Wow.
Yeah. Her anemia would have affected her body's ability to fight off infection. So she must have caught the bug that Simon and Sharon had in Puerto Rico, and she tried over-the-counter medications to deal with it, but because of her anemia, she couldn't fight off the infection and she died.
Wow, okay.
Now, what's also very interesting is that in her will, she left everything to her mother, Sharon, and nothing to her husband, Simon. Now, I think maybe this was because she believed that Simon had enough of his own money.
Right. And also, you're raised by a single mother. She's got this special, of course, if you made this money, your mom is probably used to struggle. You would leave it to your mother because she raised you. She helped you get there, and yeah.
Right. Now, after Brittany's death, Simon Monjack started the Brittany Murphy Foundation and started selling tickets to a fundraiser to friends and family, ranging from $1,000 to $10,000. Now, this rubbed people the wrong way right away. Like, he was clearly just trying to make money off of people, just like right after she died.
Oh my God.
And after it came out that Simon had never actually registered the foundation as an actual charity, he would return all of the money and the fundraiser was canceled due to, quote, health reasons. He also planned to write a tell-all book about Brittany's life. And he decided to do this like right after she died.
Oh,
also
man.
very bizarre and weird.
Weird.
Just trying to make money off of his connection to Brittany.
Oh my God. What a little cancer this guy is.
Truly.
Truly, like a little fucking cancer growing on the back of someone's ass.
Yeah. Now, sources of the hospital where Brittany were brought said that Simon was all spaced out, disconnected from the space around him, and was visibly on a lot of medication. Now, after the death, though, Sharon and Simon continued living in the house together and possibly even slept in the same bed.
Yeah, the relationship between the mom and Simon Monjack is so weird.
Yeah. Like, he said that sometimes Sharon would just climb into bed with Simon and they would just cry together.
And there's pictures of them after Brittany died.
Yeah.
There's pictures of them together that they did for like magazines and photo shoots. Like where they're like standing together holding a picture of Brittany or something. But it looks as though they're parents.
Yes.
They're
like leaning against each other.
It looks the way like two grieving parents would take a picture like with the photo of their child. Not a husband and his mother-in-law.
Yeah.
Like the way they hold each other. Not that they can't be close like a husband, a man and his mother-in-law. But like the way it's almost like two spouses.
Yeah, it's really weird.
And in this interview with Larry King, there's moments where she'll answer something and be like, "No, darling, you're forgetting time," or something like that.
Yeah. And I know British people use the word darling a lot, but sometimes he even calls her like baby and stuff. Like, it's just really weird.
Yeah.
Some people thought that they were having an affair, while some people thought that they were just like extremely weird and they weren't having an affair, but they were just fucking bizarre.
Well, I'm sure in order to creep his way into Brittany's life, because her and her mother were so close, he had to do the same to her.
Right.
He had to creep into her life the way he did Brittany.
Exactly.
Because they were a package deal.
They were a package deal.
Right.
But listen to this. Less than 5 months after Brittany's death, Simon Monjack would die in the same bathroom and in the same way.
So weird. So clearly he also wasn't getting himself treated either for shit.
Right, no. In his autopsy, the cause of death was listed as acute pneumonia with contributing factors of severe anemia.
Wow. I didn't know the anemia thing too. Wow.
Right, which is very bizarre.
Very bizarre.
Now, apparently he was in very poor health, just in general, before this. So it's not quite the exact same thing as Brittany's death, but still very weird.
Very strange.
Now, Sharon said that the house was filled with toxic mold, but the house was checked for mold and other environmental factors, but none were found. But their publicist for Sharon and Simon said that he could visibly see mold around the large window in their living room. So who really knows what's going on there?
Right.
Sharon still sued the building company of the house, and they settled in 2003 for $600,000. And then it came out that he went through $3 million of Brittany's money in 3 years. So $1 million a year.
Heck of a salary, folks.
Yeah. Then Brittany's dad, Angelo, pops off.
Okay. All right, Angelo, here we go.
He really only tried to forge a relationship with Brittany once Brittany started to make money.
Classic. Okay, classic.
Sharon did not like this, and she did not like the way that Angelo was trying to insert himself into Brittany's life and her death as well. Angelo and this woman named Julia Davis then teamed up. Julia Davis moved to the U.S. from the USSR and did some stunt double work. She married an American, but then got a job as a Customs and Border Protection officer, and one day she tried to tell her bosses about some other people and their lack of protocol, and she was then fired and retaliated against. And apparently she said she was surveilled by land and by air.
Okay.
Yeah, this sounds unrelated, and it is. But not really. You'll see. But Julia Davis claimed that Brittany Murphy was a good friend of hers, and that Brittany had spoken out about all of this unwarranted search and seizure and, all of this stuff. And because of Brittany speaking out, Brittany was placed on the FBI's watch list and was put under surveillance.
Brittany?
Yes. So Julia Davis claimed that Brittany was killed off by the government.
Like it was a conspiracy or
Yes.
something. Okay.
And that the autopsies and stuff was just a cover-up.
Whoa.
They started making these allegations that Brittany and Simon's death were just products of government interference, and that she was poisoned and all of this stuff.
So bizarre.
So bizarre. Angelo claimed that he got a sample of hair from the coroner and that he had it tested by a private laboratory. Angelo said that he wanted to check for heavy metals because of the way Brittany and Simon were acting before they died. Levels came back and they said they were positive for 10 heavy metals, and that it must have been a criminal act from a third-party intent, which is weird to say in an official report like that, especially because none of these heavy metals were found in her bloodstream or at the root of the hair. They were just found on the hair, which means that it was probably just from hair dye.
Right, exactly.
Brittany dyed her hair a lot, so this doesn't really hold any water. Julia Davis and her husband alleged that Simon Monjack was under threat of being deported by the U.S. government, that the Department of Homeland Security made false claims that Brittany Murphy had spoken out against Julia. Julia said, quote, "Britt and her husband, Simon, didn't deserve to be terrorized by the Department of Homeland Security for standing up to defend me." Julia said that Brittany and Simon thought that they were being watched by helicopters and that their phones were bugged. However, Sharon said, Brittany's mother, said that Brittany had never even met Julia Davis.
Yeah.
She said, quote, "I am quite confident Brittany never cooperated with Julia Davis, never signed any statement in support of her, never met with her, and barely even knew she existed." Julia Davis did try to contact Brittany once through Brittany's agents, but got a letter back saying that Brittany didn't know anything about Julia's claims and that she would not be meeting with her.
Wow. Okay, that's so weird.
Which is weird because Brittany and Simon were acting like they were being watched. Like, Simon did cut off all of their landline phones in their home because he felt very paranoid.
God, that's so strange.
So, I mean, Dylan, what do you think really happened?
I think it sounds like I just can't buy the Davis story.
No, absolutely not. That's insane.
I think it was just this guy weaseled his way into this mother and daughter's life and slowly killed them like a fucking cancer.
Right. And I don't think that he was trying to kill them because
Right.
Brittany was his meal ticket.
Absolutely. He wasn't, yes, this wasn't like, I don't mean he like intentionally murdered or anything like. I just think his presence is a fucking cancer. He drained them of their life, essentially.
Right, and he was just so controlling and for whatever reason decided like he didn't want Brittany to be going to the doctor, maybe because he didn't want a doctor to tell Brittany that she needed to gain weight and all this stuff. I don't know.
Exactly.
And that is what caused her death. And then why he didn't get medical attention for himself, I don't know.
Wow.
But very strange that he ended up dying of the exact same thing.
Absolutely. Maureen, thank you for doing all of that exquisite research.
Of course. This story was a little bit different. It wasn't necessarily a true crime story in the way that we usually think of it. You know, she wasn't murdered, I don't think, or anything like that, but this Simon Monjack character is just such an absolute chode.
Chodesville, man. Chodesville.
A terrible person. And
Mayor of Chodesville.
oh yeah, and I just think that this was a really good example of this cult of one, where he was able to just complete, or cult of two, I guess, because of Sharon as well. He was able to control Brittany and Sharon so much, and was able to just, I don't even know, was able to just weasel his way in there and just get them to do whatever he thought was best.
Absolutely. All right. Well, you know what, Maureen? I've got a list of names of people who definitely aren't clueless.
Oh, let's hear it.
Folks, the names of our top-tier Patreon subscribers, of course, the Dream James Watkins, the Finished Face Via Lungfist, the Madman Marcus Hall, the Vivacious Vicky McHugh, the Tenacious Teresa Hackworth, the Heartbreak Kid Chris Hackworth, the Oh-So-Suave Sean Richardson, the British Bone Breaker Bex Martin, the Notorious Nicholas Barker, the Terrifying Taylor Lashmet, the Count of Cool Cameron Corliss, the Archduke of Attitude Adam Archer, the Sinister Sam Kiker, the Nightmare of New Zealand Noeline Vivilli, the Loathsome Johnny Love, the Carnivorous Kevin Bogey, the Killer Stud Carl Staub, the Fire Starter Heather Carter, the Conqueror Christopher Damian Damaris, the Awfully Awesome Annie, the Murderous Maggie Leach, the Sir of Sexy Sam Hackworth, the Evil Elizabeth Riley, Lauren Hellfire Hernandez Lopez, the Maniacal Laura Maynard, the Vicious Karen Van Buren, the Arch Nemesis Aaron Bird, the Sadistic Sergio Castillo, the Rapscallion Ryan Crum, the Beast Benjamin Huang, the Devilish Chris Doucette, the Psycho Sam, the Electric Emily Zhang, the Ghoulish Gert Hankum, and the Renegade Corey Ramos.
Thank you so much to our top tier Patreon subscribers. We're so grateful for you. We're so grateful for all of our Patreon subscribers and just for all of you out there for listening. We couldn't do this show without you. And we're just so grateful to have you all as a part of the Creep Street Homeowners Association.
That we are. Of course, once again, if you want a little bit more, go on to patreon.com/Creep Street Podcast. Please like, rate, subscribe, tell your friends, family, loved ones. Hit us with a 5-star review or a thumbs up on whatever platform you listen to us on, and just evangelize the name of Creep Street, folks.
Please, we see it when you do, and we love it.
Citizens of the Milky Way, my name is Dylan Hackworth.
I'm Maureen Bogey.
Good night and goodbye.
Goodbye.